Why was Yuji and Sukuna's binding vow different from other binding vows we saw, and that Yuji didn't really have any choice when it came time to enact it? Let's talk about it, and I think I can do this spoiler free. All right, first of all, shout out to CQ who asked me about this today, and in particular, he just wanted to know why there was a difference between what we saw with Yuji and Sukuna's binding vow and what we saw with other binding vows between two people. For example, Mekamaru and Mahito, because in their binding vow, we know that they made a deal where Mahito would heal Mekamaru in exchange for information, right? But we know that Mekamaru provided the information, and yet Mahito still had to consciously come over and heal him. He had the choice to break that vow. Whereas in Yuji and Sukuna's case, Yuji had no choice. He couldn't have broken that binding vow if he wanted to. As soon as Sukuna said Enchain, he took over. So why the difference there? So I think there's a couple of layers to this, and the easy answer and the meta answer, in my opinion, is just that this scenario makes for a far better story, right? Yuji not having any agency here and this moment coming as a complete surprise to him, but also us, the readers, is just the far more interesting, crazy moment to have in the story. And realistically, if Yuji does have agency, like he has the ability to break that binding vow, in most cases, he probably would, right? Because any moment that Sukuna tries to invoke this, Yuji is going to know something's up. Like, it's obviously something that Sukuna is trying to take to his advantage, so Yuji probably wouldn't let it happen, which is why Sukuna crafts the vow in this way. You will forget about this agreement, right? So, again, I think on some level it makes for the better story, but in universe, I think this is also set up by just their extremely unique circumstance because they share a body, right? This is something that can be immediately enacted given Yuji agrees to it, which he does, right? Yuji forgoes his agency in how this vow was set up. And Sukuna did this all on purpose, right? Which is again why he made part of it that Yuji would forget. So I think it's only because that they share a body and that Yuji can just relinquish control of the driver's seat at any moment to give Sukuna control that this worked. To cite back to the Mahito Mekamaru example, it was impossible to have that immediately evoked, right? Because Mekamaru, let's say he's sharing information on the phone or, standing a room apart from Mahito, as soon as he conveys that information, it's impossible for him to just be healed because of the rule of the binding vow, because it's still going to take an active application of idle transfiguration from Mahito. That agency is kind of built into how it was structured. However, I think they could have structured it in a way that it wasn't, where if maybe they said, let's make a binding vow where we meet up 2 weeks from now and shake hands. At that point, I will tell you the information, and if I do, you must heal me. I think in that type of situation, Mahito's agency might have been removed as well. So I think it's because of their extremely unique circumstance and the way that Sukuna specifically crafted this vow that Yuji didn't have agency.